When it comes to three-row mainstream family SUVs, the Toyota Highlander is America's favorite. Just looking at the sales figures, Toyota managed to move around 225,000 units last year, making it the best-selling vehicle in its segment. Now, one of the biggest problems about the current Highlander was its cramped third row and small trunk, a problem that Toyota hopes to rectify with this model. This is the all-new 2024 Grand Highlander, and just like its name implies, it's around 6.5 inches longer than the regular Highlander, finally giving it an adult-friendly third row. Now, to test out this all-new Grand Highlander, we're actually out here on the Big Island in beautiful Kona, Hawaii to drive this model here and the two electrified options. And the big question I want answered, if you guys are seeking an SUV with an adult-friendly third row, has Toyota finally managed to create it with the all-new Grand Highlander? Stay tuned to find out. So I know the beautiful ocean in the background here in Hawaii is probably really distracting, but we are here, of course, to talk about the all-new 2024 Grand Highlander. Before we start talking about the exterior styling, I'm going to show you guys what's underneath the hood. Now, this model here is the volume powertrain. Later on in the video, we're going to show you guys separate clips on the Hybrid and the Hybrid Max, but Toyota expects about 75% of Grand Highlander buyers to choose this 2.4-liter gasoline direct injection turbocharged four-cylinder. Remember, Toyota introduced this engine on the Lexus NX and the Lexus RX a couple of years ago, and this is essentially a replacement for the V6. It makes 265 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. It all goes out through, of course, an 8-speed automatic transmission, and you can take your pick between either front-wheel drive or the company's dynamic torque split all-wheel drive system, which most of you are probably going to end up choosing. Now, in terms of the fuel efficiency, Toyota says you can get up to 22-28 depending on the trim configuration. This model here with the 20-inch wheels on the Platinum gets around 20 in the city and 26 on the highway. That is designed to run, of course, on regular grade gasoline. Toyota claims 0 to 60 is around 7.5 seconds. We'll test it out when we get this vehicle and its hybrid options out on the road later on. And towing capacity for this model here sits at around 5,000 pounds. The curb weight for this Grand Highlander is around 4,500 pounds, so it's only about a couple hundred pounds heavier, which is actually a pretty incredible feat considering just how large this Grand Highlander is. But let's go ahead and close up the hood, which, as you can see, is supported by a prop rod as opposed to struts. But the styling of this vehicle, when Toyota first showed it at the Chicago Auto Show, I was really impressed because what the company essentially did is they fixed a lot of my issues with the standard Highlander, which I thought just didn't look really great. In fact, now that you see the Grand Highlander out here painted in this ruby flare metallic exterior color with the chrome accents, this is the fully loaded platinum grade. Toyota is going to offer it in XLE, limited, and platinum. The platinum you can get in the turbo and in the Hybrid Max. I love the front end styling where it has kind of this big interpretation of Toyota's corporate grille. The chrome here is a little much for me. I kind of wish Toyota would offer like a blacked out package, which I suspect they may do when they eventually offer an XSE at a later date. You can see the headlights. They're pretty slim. They kind of look like the current Highlander, but it's a little more blocky. This, to me, reminds me a lot of the RAV4. You can see it's a full LED headlight, LED daytime running light, turn signal, LED low and high beams. You also have LED fog lights. Keep in mind, the front end is going to be a little bit different on some of the other trim levels of this vehicle, but this model here, let me know in the comment section what you guys think of the overall look. I think Toyota did a great job with the overall design. Now, moving around the side profile, this is still built on the TNGA-K architecture, although Toyota says they've made a lot of improvements to this vehicle to, again, make it a Grand Highlander. Its overall length is just over 201 inches long, about 6.5 inches longer than the current Highlander. Its wheelbase was stretched around 4 inches at 116 inches long. This is still a little bit shorter in wheelbase versus something like the Mazda CX-90, but its overall length is pretty much the same as a CX-90 and the new Honda Pilot. You can see the wheels on this Platinum grade are a 20-inch wheel. I don't love the wheels. This is a chrome-clad wheel that you get with the gas Platinum. The Hybrid and Hybrid Max is going to have a slightly different finish to them. The wheels, or the tires, are 255 by 55 are 20-inch tire. Toyota offers either an 18 or a 20-inch wheel. The Limiteds will come with the 20-inch wheel, which technically lowers the fuel economy a little bit. This is an SUV, so you have some of the non-painted gray cladding around the actual lower portion of the vehicle, and all Grand Highlanders have around 8 inches of ground clearance, which is a fairly good amount for most family SUVs. Now you can see the side mirrors are body colored. They have an integrated turn signal. There's a full 360 camera on this vehicle, and then you can see a lot of additional chrome. There's chrome for the roof rails, which are the slimmer aerodynamic kind. Then there's also a standard panoramic roof when you guys go for the Platinum trim. That feature is available, I believe, on the limited grade, and then the base XLE most likely won't get that option. Now, moving around this angle here, you can really see the increase in the overall length. I mean, this larger rear window here is going to give third row passengers more visibility. And the back end of this car really reminds me a lot of the current generation RAV4, which I think is a great thing. The RAV4 has always been a handsome looking vehicle. This looks a lot better versus the current generation Highlander. I suspect Toyota will eventually refresh the Highlander to kind of give it this look. You can see the taillight designs themselves are actually a full LED. So you have an LED turn signal, LED brake lights, LED reverse lights. You can see it says Grand Highlander in the back. That's pretty boldly spelled out. There's also an all-wheel drive Platinum badge. Keep in mind, if you guys go for the Hybrid or Hybrid Max, you'll have a different badge, which I'll show you guys later on in the video. And then surprisingly, you can see here, no visible exhaust tips. Now, this is the turbo engine. However, if you guys look at the hybrid versions, which I'll show you later, Toyota decided to go with a slightly different rear end. But let's go ahead and show you guys the cargo area, because this is an area where Toyota, again, needed to fix the issues from the regular Highlander. And as you can see, third row seating is going to be standard on every version of the Grand Highlander, and you get just under 21 cubic feet of storage space back here. You can see there is a plenty amount of space. Toyota says you can actually fit 7 carry-on suitcases in here. So it's those 21-inch roller bags. 7 of them will fit in here, and you'll be able to close the third row or close the tailgate with the third row up. That basically means you have enough space for each person's carry-on if you guys have 7 people in this vehicle. If you fold down the third row here, it actually will expand the cargo to just under 60 cubic feet, which is, again, a huge amount. It's around 10 cubic feet more versus the standard Highlander. If you fold down everything, Toyota says you get just under 98 cubic feet of space. Now, if you're keeping score, 98 cubic feet of space is around 12 more than the regular Highlander, and it also has around 10 more cubic feet of space versus Toyota's own Sequoia. That's the new Sequoia. So if you want the biggest SUV that offers the most interior space, this is now that model in the Toyota lineup. Now, if you guys must do an electrified option of the new Grand Highlander, Toyota expects about 25% of buyers to go for either the Hybrid or the Hybrid Max option. Let's go ahead and start with the Hybrid. This is actually a base XLE Hybrid with all-wheel drive. It combines basically the powertrain that you get from the standard Highlander, which means you have a 2.5-liter dynamic force naturally aspirated gas 4-cylinder paired up with up to 3 electric motors. 2 if you go for a front drive model. There's a 3rd separate electric motor on the rear end if you guys go for all-wheel drive. The combined output here is 243 horsepower, and Toyota doesn't claim a combined torque, but the gas engine on its own makes around 175 pound-feet of torque. That horsepower figure is about 22 horsepower less versus the gas turbo. This car is paired with an eCVT, so a continuously variable transmission, and this is also the Highlander that gets the best gas mileage. Toyota claims up to 36 mpg combined for the front-wheel drive model. This model here drops that down to about 34 mpg combined because of the all-wheel drive system. If you guys go with a limited with the 20-inch wheels, it'll drop your combined MPG down to 33, which is still among the best in the segment. So for those of you who want efficiency with your 3-row SUV, this is going to get the best gas mileage out there. In terms of performance, Toyota claims 0 to 60 in 8.6 seconds, which is perfectly acceptable, about a second slower than the gas turbo. This will also tow a maximum of 3,500 pounds, and as it sits, it weighs in at around 4,700 pounds. So I suspect this is going to be the powertrain most people buy. Now, for you enthusiasts out there, you're going to want to take a look at the Hybrid Max option, which this powertrain here is the same powertrain that we see under the hood of the Lexus RX 500h F Sport Performance or a Toyota Crown as well. This pairs the turbocharged 2.4-liter gasoline 4-cylinder, but without the direct injection technology. So it's been detuned slightly. But with the electric motor, you get 1 electric motor at the front and then a much more powerful e-axle at the back. It's technically an 80 kilowatt e-axle, kind of similar to what you find in the BZ4X. You get a combined output of 362 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. This here makes this the most powerful mid-size SUV that Toyota has ever offered, and they claim a 0 to 60 time of around 6.2 seconds. Now, the difference between this and the regular hybrid, this actually uses a 6-speed conventional ASIN-built automatic transmission. So not a CVT here, a 6-speed auto, and Toyota claims 6.2 seconds is the 0 to 60 time. You can get the Hybrid Max powertrain in either the limited or this platinum grade, not in the base XLE. And fuel economy is rated up to 27 mpg combined, so around 27, 26 mpg. It's going to be the same whether you go for the limited or for the platinum because they all have the 20-inch wheels. So the gas mileage is still better versus the gas turbo, but it's not quite as good, obviously, as the standard hybrid. In terms of the towing capacity, this will tow a maximum of around 5,000 pounds, so it's the same as the gas turbo, more than the regular hybrid. And as this one sits, this is going to be the heaviest model because it's the Hybrid Platinum, and it weighs in at just over 4,900 pounds, which is around 400 pounds heavier than a fully loaded regular Highlander. But let's go ahead and close up this hood here. I want to show you guys a couple of quick details between these two different trims. First of all, this is the 18-inch wheel that you get with the XLE. You can see it's a much thicker sidewall. I don't particularly love the way the wheel looks. It's riding on a 255 65 R18. This is what's going to get you the best gas mileage and the best ride quality. This Hybrid Max and Platinum, you can see, has a different finish on the wheel. I much prefer these over the chrome clad wheels that you got on the gas Platinum. You can see it's also riding on a 255 55 R20-inch tire. And then I also want to show you guys the rear of the Hybrid Max, because this model here is the only trim level to get dual chrome exhaust tips. Love the way that looks. Definitely gives it a sportier, more premium vibe to it. And then you also have the Hybrid Max badge here with their new Beyond Zero badge. The regular Hybrid has a Hybrid HEV badge along with an all-wheel drive badge. All-wheel drive, by the way, is going to be standard on this trim. It's optional if you guys go for the regular Hybrid. Now, I also want to show you guys the trunk, because earlier we didn't fold down the seats, but you can see the trunk space is unaffected by the battery pack, and you can see with all the seats folded, that's where you have a completely almost flat low floor, and you have a total of nearly 98 cubic feet of space, which is going to be among the best in the segment. So this is a family vehicle, so let's go ahead and move on to the interior of the all-new Grand Highlander. Now, this model that we're showing you is the Platinum grade in the gas configuration. So we have the full Softex leather interior. This is the gray interior. It's technically a faux leather. The hybrid versions will have actually an ultra suede option. If you have the Hybrid Max, you'll have like an ultra suede center with bronze accents. But you can see this leather material, this faux leather, is really soft. It also feels pretty high quality. The seats themselves have good bolstering, and it just feels really plush. You have a 10-way power driver's seat over here and an 8-way power passenger seat over there with 2-person memory. The front seats are also heated and ventilated. The rear is also heated and ventilated only on the Platinum grade. But once you get it and shut the door has a relatively solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on the TNGA-K architecture. And then here's the key fob for the vehicle. You guys have seen this key before. It's Toyota's current fob. It has the usual lock, unlock, a power liftgate, panic, and then it has the Grand Highlander badge on the back of the fob. You guys can also use your phone as a key, which you can do through Toyota's Digital Key 2, I believe, software. But we don't have access to that because this is a very first drive. Now, the start-stop button is right here. Start it up like every other vehicle. And this model here is the gas turbo. So it has that traditional startup noise, which you guys know the hybrids will have, to kind of just like a power-up whirring noise. Now, looking at the interior, you can see the Grand Highlander is designed to be a step above the standard Highlander, which means this trim begins at the XLE grade, and the 12.3-inch screen that you see here is going to be standard across the board. If you guys go for an XLE trim, you won't have a fully digital instrument cluster. You'll have a 7-inch display with traditional analog dials. Limited and up trims will get their full customizable digital display where you can change the look of the gauges. You can also put your maps in there. It's a nice looking display that Toyota first started introducing about a year ago on certain models. Now let's talk about the interior materials, because this is the fully loaded Platinum grade, and it definitely has a much more upscale touch versus the lower grades. You can see, starting with the door panels, there is a soft touch injection molded plastic here. This wood looks really good and it looks real, but when you touch it, you can clearly tell it's an imitation wood. The door handle has a silver painted plastic material. The windows, all of them are actually one touch up and down. They feel really high quality and tactile. You have power folding mirrors, which you can push a button here and the mirrors will fold in. And then over here you can see padded center or armrest over here with more of that stitching. And then there's some storage down here at the lower pockets. In terms of the dashboard, you can see this upper portion here is a hard touch plastic, but this area here is soft touch with some of that faux stitching with more of that wood. I like the shelf over here. This is some great storage option here for your smartphone or whatever loose items you want to put away. The steering wheel, you can see, is a slightly different steering wheel from the current Highlander. You can see, I like the Toyota emblem in here, where instead of a shiny chrome finish, it kind of has like a metallic silvery finish to it. The wheel itself is a manual tilt and telescoping, which I was kind of hoping it would be power, but Toyota has to save something obviously for Lexus. There's paddles on the wheel to control the 8-speed auto. You have controls over here for your Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, which comes standard on every Highlander. And then this right here is to where you can change the way the gauge display looks. You can kind of customize the settings, change the way that looks. The horn sounds nondescript. It doesn't sound puny, at least. It sounds appropriate given the size of this vehicle. And then you can see here, this is also the first Toyota vehicle to include their driver monitoring function. That's part of the Safety Sense 3.0. That essentially watches your face, where you can load up your own customizable driver profiles, and the car will notice if you're driving and you're not paying attention to the road. It'll actually sound a warning to tell you to look back on the road. There's also a heads-up display that's included only on the Platinum grades. Remember, this model here has basically everything. And then over here you can see there's tri-zone automatic climate control. I like the fact that Toyota still gives us a volume knob. You have knobs for your climate controls. You have heated and cooled seats, which you can see are 3-level heated and cooled seats, a heated windscreen, and you also have a heated steering wheel, which is nice. The vents, pretty traditional looking. You have a USB-C charging port there, 2 of them actually. And then if you push this button here, you can see full 360 camera, which is standard, I believe, if you guys go for the Platinum grade. So it might be an option on the Limited, but I'm still not sure on the Limited's option features. But you can see when you push that button, it does a full 360 scan, which is kind of a useless view. I wish Toyota would do a different look versus like some of the European competitors. When I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's a more useful view. The graphics and resolution have gotten better over the years. You have a top-down view. You have full parking sensors front and rear. You have trajectory. So this is pretty nice. But the full 360 view where I would like to kind of scan around the vehicle, that's something that I kind of hope Toyota will eventually offer in the future. Now you can see there's my wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This is running the new system that Toyota Connected Services did a couple of years ago. You can see that's standard across the board. When you go back to the home system, you can see there's the embedded GPS, which runs on the cloud system. So if you don't have service, this won't work. So kind of keep that in mind. Most of you are going to use your smartphone anyways. Go back to the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which is wireless, and you have over-the-air updates. You can kind of go into the car settings here, the settings icon there where you can change your driver profile, adjust all kinds of different things here. Your audio information is over there. So this system is very easy to use. I'm not going to go too much into detail there, but I think the screen size is also pretty good. Now down here you can see pretty good amount of storage. This is a family vehicle, so you have a wireless smartphone charger here, but I have to say Toyota's system doesn't always work very reliably. It kind of, if you drive around, your phone will slide around and it'll stop charging wirelessly, which is kind of annoying. But you have big cup holders here, nice big storage area here where you can put your wallet, smartphone, sunglasses. You can see electronic parking brake. Surprised to see there's a traditional shifter here. This would have taken up less space if they went with an electronic shifter, but for those of you who prefer a mechanical linkage feel, that's definitely very satisfying. Your drive mode selector is here. You can see there's 3 different modes. There's an eco, a normal, and then a sport setting, and then part of the torque dynamic system, you have a mud and sand setting, and you also have a rock and dirt setting. So that's kind of if you guys plan to go off-roading. There's also a snow mode, and there's also downhill assist control, which is nice. You can see this is a nice padded center console area with faux stitching. I also like, instead of completely flipping up, you just slide that back. You can see there's a pretty deep storage area down there, which no additional power outlets. The 2 are actually over here. Toyota says there's a total of 7 different power outlets, including one over there on the passenger side, which is definitely a nice touch. You can see the glove box is damped, but not lined with felt. It's a traditional bin style. And then my tester, if you guys go for the limited and up trims, will have the 11-speaker JBL premium sound system, which sounds pretty good. It's nothing super crazy fancy like what you might find in some of the more premium brands, but it definitely gets the job done. There's also LED lighting, map lighting in here, some ambient lighting, which I can't show you right now. And then you can see here, the upper trims will include this digital camera review mirror, which you can also go to a traditional one. You can adjust the views and whatnot, but this is definitely important for if you guys regularly carry 7 or 8 people, where you can still see out of the back. The panoramic glass roof, you can see, also lets in a ton of light. It goes into the second row, and it also gives you the ability to tilt it up and completely slide it open. Now when you slide it open, it only goes over the 2 front seats, but you can see here, that's actually a pretty good amount that you can open it up as well. And then if you don't like the sun basically beating down on you here in Hawaii, you can also close this retractable shade, which, as you can see, just push this button and the shade will automatically close for you, which is definitely a nice touch. But overall, the interior definitely feels more spacious versus a regular Highlander. You can feel the additional 2 inches of width in here. It's got great amount of tech. It's got comfortable seats, and I think it's going to really radiate well with families who need, a vehicle like this. Now the whole point of a Grand Highlander is to have more space in the back seat and in the 3rd row. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Toyota offers on this Platinum grade. Now you can see here, the Platinum comes standard with these captain's chairs, which some of you like. However, if you guys want an 8-passenger configuration, you have to step down to a lower trim. That's something that Honda offers on the Pilot, for example, if you guys go for the Elite, where they offer the option of a captain's chairs or a bench seat via the removable seat in the middle. Toyota doesn't give you that feature, but what you do get back here is a ton of features and a ton of space. Now getting back here and shutting the door, you can hear the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, and compared to the standard Highlander, the 2nd row here has about an inch more legroom. So you're looking at around 39.5 inches of legroom. You can see For somebody like me, I can basically have a ton of space here. There's a good amount of foot space. There's almost a flat floor here, which is nice. You have an actual power outlet. You have 2 more USB ports here for each seat. Back here, you have your own climate controls. And then if you guys go for the platinum grades and up, you'll get heated and ventilated second row seats. You can't even get that feature in the new Honda Pilot. It was technically the Koreans that first did it. In terms of the materials, you can see this is a soft touch injection molded plastic, which is nice. Padded area over here. There's additional storage here where you could put like a soda can over here, which is nice. You also have these manual rear window shades. You have vents that are actually in the ceiling of the vehicle, which is nice. And then you can see here, the center console, there's like another storage area with cup holders. You can actually take this out completely and leave this in the trunk where you can kind of create a more accessible area to get into the third row. I also love how easily this kind of pops in and out, which is a great feature. The seats themselves, they also recline, they fold down, and you can also slide them forward and back to give more space into the actual third row. But let's go ahead and hop into the third row, which Toyota makes pretty easy to get back here. You basically just pull this lever over here, which Rob also will show you. And then you can see the seat kind of catapults forward to give you a nice access point into the third row. Now this is where Toyota, again, focused heavily a lot on for the Grand Highlander, because the regular Highlander literally had around 28 inches of legroom back here. This Grand Highlander, this is with the seat all the way back, has an additional 5.5 inches of legroom space, which means you have around 33.5 inches of total legroom, which you can see this seat is now all the way back. This is its most rearward position. I'm 5'7", and there's actually a really good amount of space. You can see there's good foot space. The floor is nice and low where I can get comfortable back here. My knees aren't touching the seat back itself. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see my head's getting a little close to it. But you know what? If you were over 6 feet, you might run into some headroom issues. But for an average size adult, this is finally an adult-friendly third row, which is definitely nice. And then in terms of features, you have a nice, not padded, but it almost looks like it should be padded, where you'd rest your elbows. There's big cup holder storage. There's another USB port over here. There's the same one on the other side. And then you also have LED map lighting, rear seat air vents. Their vehicle is 2 inches wider, so now you can actually accommodate another passenger here, although if you kind of have 3 wider set people, this is probably going to be a little bit tight. But overall, this is the area where the current generation Highlander was such a disappointment, especially when the new one came out in 2020. So for those of you who are looking to replace that vehicle, or you're just looking in this space in general, Toyota finally has an option for you. And this is, for me, probably among the biggest for third row seat space, even though in terms of legroom, it's not the most, but in actual real world usage, this is definitely very comfortable. I could sit back here on a longer road trip. So here we are in beautiful Hawaii to drive the biggest version of the Highlander ever. And we're starting off the drive in the 2.4 liter turbo gas engine. Toyota claims that this is going to account for 75% of total sales. So we figured we'll grab the gas engine first. We'll swap into the hybrid and the hybrid max later on. Toyota claims this model will do 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds. Let's go ahead and test that out. It's got an 8-speed auto. We've got all-wheel drive, 265 horsepower. We'll brake torque it, and no wheel spin whatsoever. It's got that smooth shifting 8-speed auto. All right, 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds, and this is actually a slightly level road, actually. I'm surprised because we're technically going up a mountain. Now, Toyota claims 7.5, but nobody really cares in terms of 0 to 60 performance for a vehicle like this, but we'll test out the hybrid and the hybrid max later, because the hybrid max is going to be the one that'll do it in 6.3 seconds, according to Toyota. So I'm going to try my best to not get distracted by the beautiful scenery around here, but the car's driver monitoring system literally looks at my face and it yells at me every time I look over to the right or the left to look at the beautiful coastline. So it is definitely a great safety feature to have for parents who are distracted by the kids or distracted by scenery. But driving the Grand Highlander is basically like driving the regular Highlander. Do I feel a noticeable difference in the size of this vehicle? I definitely feel the 2 inches of additional width. It's around a couple 100 pounds heavier, and it's around 6.5 inches longer, and you definitely notice that. Now, does this vehicle feel cumbersome to drive? No. It feels a lot like the current generation Pilot or a Telluride or Hyundai Palisade or Volkswagen Atlas. It's not a sporty driving vehicle. You're going to be looking at the Mazda CX-90, or even the Subaru Ascent feels a little bit sportier than this, but it's not a difficult vehicle to drive. It's got the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, so it keeps you in the lane. It has the new driver monitoring feature. It has full speed range adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, automatic emergency braking, all that good stuff, and it's standard. You don't have to pay extra for it, which is definitely nice. And then the seats are also comfortable and supportive. They have decent lateral bolstering, but again, this vehicle is not a sporty vehicle, although I kind of wish the Toyota would do an XSE version like they do on the regular Highlander, or even like an adventure version, an off-roady version. It certainly has more of that boxy look that it could justify a more off-road capable version of this vehicle. But the turbo engine, as you guys know, replaces the V6 in the regular Highlander and so many other vehicles in Toyota's lineup. And even though it doesn't have that sound of the V6, which the naturally aspirated V6 made a great noise, this engine has a lot of torque, 310 pound-feet of torque, and it's just available right in the mid-range. It's got a smooth shifting 8-speed, which is well matched to the engine's power band. And when I start using the paddles, for example, you can see it's pretty good about downshift rev matching. Does the engine sound bad? No. Does it sound good? No. It's just very nondescript. I mean, I suspect most Highlander or Grand Highlander buyers are probably going to not even notice that Toyota has swapped out the V6, but what you will feel is the increase in mid-range torque. I don't have to rev the crap out of the engine to get it to pass people on the highway. That's something that I noticed in vehicles like the new Honda Pilot with its naturally aspirated V6. It just had a lot of power, but not very much torque, where you constantly are making the engine scream past 6,000 RPM. You don't need to do that in the Grand Highlander, which should make it feel more powerful and quicker in day-to-day driving. Now, in terms of visibility, I can see out of the front really well. The side visibility is good. The rear, when I don't have the digital camera rearview mirror, the view actually is fine, although those third row headrests will block it a little bit. But when you have this option, it's a wonderful feature where you can see everything really well. So Toyota did a great job with the visibility. In terms of comfort and quietness, the ride quality is definitely comfortable, although the 20s transmit a little bit more bumpiness. This vehicle does not have adaptive dampers, but it does have a unique rear suspension tuned specifically for the Grand Highlander. Is it the most comfortable ride in the segment? I'd say no, but it's probably right up there with the class average. It's competent, but not super standoutish. The cooled seat also works pretty well. I like how it is also standard when you guys go for the limited trims and up. And overall, the noise levels of this vehicle are fine. This is a very early pre-production model that we're driving, and I don't hear any squeaks and rattles, which is nice. But overall, the turbo engine is certainly a competent driving vehicle. It's going to suffice for many buyers who are looking in this class, but for those of you who want better fuel efficiency, I suspect you're going to be looking at the Hybrid and the Hybrid Max. So let's go ahead and jump into those models and see how they compare to the turbo engine. So now we've switched into a much more basic version of the Highlander. This one here is the XLE with all-wheel drive, and it's the conventional hybrid. In fact, I actually think that this is the powertrain combination that most owners or most potential buyers are going to want, because it's the same powertrain that you get in the regular Highlander, which means you have a 2.5-liter gas engine paired up with up to 3 electric motors to give us 243 horsepower, which is the same power as what you get in the Highlander and the Sienna. The torque figure is 175, although that's just the gas engine. We don't know what the actual figure is combined with the electric motor powertrain as well. But Toyota says you'll get a 0 to 60 time of around 8.6 seconds with this powertrain, which sounds a little slow on paper. It's about 1.5 seconds slower versus the gas turbo engine, but let's go ahead and see what we can get. We got 7.7, remember, in the gas turbo non-hybrid. So even with all-wheel drive, this thing still spins out its front tires slightly, but we got up to 60 in 7.9 seconds. That's actually not bad, and that's only 0.2 seconds slower versus the turbo engine. Remember, this powertrain does have around 22 less horsepower than the 2.4 turbo non-hybrid, but we don't know how much less torque it actually has. But that's the one thing about this powertrain, is in the conventional Highlander, the speed is actually pretty similar as well. However, the fuel efficiency is really where this powertrain shines, because it's rated to get up to 36 mpg, which is the best in the class. And obviously I can't talk about fuel efficiency on this very, very short drive in these very early pre-production models, but Earlier today when I got into this vehicle, it was showing, without even trying, 33 mpg, and then I had another journalist drive the car before me, and it was showing almost 80 mpg. Now that's, take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of these vehicles, to get that kind of mpg, you're probably going downhill, or you're kind of coasting behind a semi-truck or something like that. But overall, the efficiency is very strong about this powertrain, and also the smoothness, because Toyota's current generation hybrid system is one of the best in the segment. We've got that eCVT, which is very responsive about putting the engine in the meat of its power band. I put my foot down here. You can feel the electric motor kind of just pushes you back into the seat for all that instant torque. And then at the higher end, the horsepower from the gas engine comes in to give you even more acceleration. Now, the sound of it is not pleasant. The 2.4 sounds a lot better. We'll hop into the Hybrid Max and see how that sounds. This is very much that traditional Toyota hybrid noise that it makes with the droning. However, because of the instantaneous torque, you don't have to necessarily push the engine so hard, which is nice. Now, I'm also driving the XLE model with the 18-inch wheels. This is going to give you the better ride quality, and I definitely feel that here. With that additional protection in terms of the thicker sidewalls on the tires, you don't really feel the bumps as much on the 20-inch wheels that you get in the Platinum grades. The seats, these are the XLE specific Softech seats, which are also comfortable, supportive. You don't get the ventilated seats, and you can see here, that is the 7-inch instrument cluster there, so it's not the full 12.3-inch display, which is customizable, but it still looks fine. Luckily, you still get the bigger 12.3-inch display here, so that's definitely going to make you feel like you didn't necessarily buy a base model. But overall, this is the powertrain that I think is going to strike the best balance. But let's go ahead and hop into that Hybrid Max, because it does have around 120 more horsepower than this model, and let's see how fast that car is. So if the gas 2.4 non-hybrid and the conventional hybrid aren't fast enough for you, and you really don't care about MPG as much, Toyota also offers this, the Hybrid Max, which is the same powertrain that we've tested in the RX 500h F-Sport Performance. It has been detuned slightly here to 362 horsepower, about 4 horsepower less, and 400 pound-feet of torque, about 6 pound-feet of torque less. This car is about 4,900 pounds, so it's around 200 pounds heavier versus the Lexus, so it's not that much heavier, and it's not that much less powerful. But let's go ahead and see what we can get. Toyota claims 6.2 seconds. I suspect it's going to be pretty close to that number, but basically the car is in sport mode. We'll brake torque it and then let go. Just like the Lexus, it kind of spins out the front tires a little bit. Wow, that's actually pretty impressive. 0 to 60 in 6.03 seconds, and the surface was pretty level, so that's a pretty satisfying time. I think when I tested the Lexus back home, I got 5.7 seconds, so 0.3 seconds slower sounds about right for a car that's about 300 pounds heavier. Remember, this is significantly bigger, about a foot longer than the Lexus. So Toyota's done a really good job with the powertrain on this Hybrid Max. It certainly lives up to the Max portion of it. And what the beauty about the Hybrid Max is, when you drive the vehicle just around town, it functions like a full hybrid system. So that means this vehicle can accelerate the car on electric power alone, although not for long distances. Remember, this is not a plug-in hybrid, it's just a conventional hybrid. It's got a really small 1.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, so the car is self-charging. It recharges every time I hit the brakes, or every time the gas engine comes on, it charges. But right now, the gas engine is off, and we're just kind of cruising along in electric only. And instead of that CVT, we have a 6-speed automatic. So it has actual gears, and when you put your foot down, you'll feel the gear shifts in this vehicle. It's definitely noticeable, but I'm surprised that Toyota is not using an 8-speed transmission or a 10. The 6-speed is definitely down on gears. In fact, the new Toyota Tacoma, which was just revealed with this powertrain, has an 8-speed auto. So I'm wondering if Toyota is going to eventually upgrade the powertrain, the transmission, to give us that. Now I'm going to put my foot down here, and we're going to pass this Tacoma and see if I can get in front here. And you definitely notice this thing is quick. It has the necessary pull that you're looking for, and it's kind of begging for a sportier version. I'd love to see Toyota do an XSE variant with 21-inch wheels, a sportier tuned suspension. I mean, that's not necessarily the target for this audience, but if you guys require maximum power, maximum acceleration, you know, the towing capability, and fuel efficiency. I mean, right now the car says it's averaging 23 mpg, which is about 4 less than what it should be getting. I think I got around 25 in the RX, so keep that in mind. The Max portion isn't necessarily about maximum efficiency, it's about maximum power, but hey, that's the reason why there's the regular hybrid, which should easily do around 10 mpg better versus this car. So in all my years of traveling, I actually hadn't had the opportunity until now to visit Hawaii. And I have to say, this right here, what you're looking at, is all hardened volcanic lava, which turns into these jaggedy pieces of rock, which kind of look like broken up pieces of burnt up concrete. But anyways, you're gonna find this all around the state, which is a pretty interesting thing to see. However, we're not really here to talk about the rocks, but I had to mention them. We're here to talk about the 2024 Grand Highlander, because this right here is a very important SUV for Toyota. For years, the company literally didn't have an SUV option for people who needed a 3-row vehicle that could actually fit adults. And after spending the day driving all 3 powertrains of the new Grand Highlander, Toyota finally has that vehicle. Obviously, between the 3 powertrains, my actual favorite is the Hybrid Max. It's the quickest offering. It's going to give you the best compromise between efficiency and performance. However, I suspect most people are actually going to end up buying the mid-level option, which is the Hybrid, because that's the one that gets the mid-30 MPGs. It's going to have decent acceleration for most situations. So really, you only want the turbo, or you want the Hybrid Max if you want the max towing, or you just want the most performance. Really, in terms of gripes with the Grand Highlander, I do wish that Toyota offered a little bit more in terms of variety in the trims. I would like to see them offer an XSE trim. I'd like to see them offer a more off-roady trim. I also would like to see them offer a prime option, a plug-in hybrid. This Hybrid Max begs for some electric-only range, but again, the battery is a little bit too small for that. So I suspect Toyota is going to be working on that at some point. And I also think that the company is seriously underestimating the take rate with the hybrid powertrains, because like I said earlier, 25% is going to be the hybrid and the Hybrid Max, 75% is going to be the turbo engine. But most people, I think, are actually going to end up choosing the electrified option. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on the all-new Grand Highlander, the gas turbo engine is going to be going on sale at your local Toyota dealership in July. So you're going to have to wait about 2 months to get your hands on this vehicle. Toyota says that the Hybrid Max option is going to have to wait until early 2024, which kind of makes sense. This is a 2024 model. The company is going to be ramping up production at their plant in Indiana to try to get these out. They're anticipating in the first year, which is model year 2023, as it is 2024, they're estimating they should be able to sell around 40,000 units. They should be able to literally triple those numbers to around 120,000 units by 2024. And if you guys want this vehicle, it starts at just over $43,000 for the base XLE with front-wheel drive, $2,000 extra if you guys want all-wheel drive. That sounds like a very pricey $7,000 more versus the regular Highlander. However, keep in mind that Toyota doesn't offer an L or an LE base trim on the Grand Highlander, at least for now, which is why the price difference is so great. It's really about $1,000 more versus the standard Highlander XLE. So kind of keep that in mind. If you guys want the hybrid, that's only $1,600 extra. So $44,600 for an XLE with front wheel drive in the hybrid option. Again, add $2,000 if you guys want all wheel drive. This model here, the Hybrid Max, is the most expensive. If you guys want this powertrain, it's going to start at around 54 grand for the base, or for the limited trim. This Platinum is around $58,000 plus 1,330 destination, and you're looking at a grand total of just under 60 grand, 59.5 for this model with the destination charge, which sounds like a lot. This is about 5 grand more versus a regular Highlander hybrid Platinum trim, the non-grand version, but I'd say it's probably worth that amount, especially if you guys need the additional space and the additional capability. You can't really beat the offering that Toyota has here, especially if you want the best fuel efficiency, because the regular hybrid, like I said earlier, does mid-30 MPG. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.